Okay, well, yeah. What? How was that? What'd you think?
It was good. It was different. Yeah, I felt like there was very little my character could do in terms of like his skill set, and then he was stuck on a train, so it was kind of training in the way where like he couldn't truly escape what was after him.
Right. There was definitely deliberate that you were like, isolated in a way, like you can't get out of that area, so you have to deal with the situation. I really liked that you made your character a graffiti artist or an artist basically who had spray paint because that gave you a weapon that you would not otherwise have had. And I actually thought that that really added something to the scenario, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought that that was something he could use, whether he was gonna actually like use it for its intended purpose or use it as like a backup or something. And then it didn't occur to me till towards the end when it was chasing me back through the cabins we were already in, where I was like, oh, maybe one of these guys has a lighter and I could do like a makeshift flamethrower. But that occurred to me a little too late, and unfortunately I did not survive.
Well, it was an interesting idea, and I like that you fought at least, and you tried to see how it worked. For the record, because I had a stopwatch on this one, it was like 2 minutes left on the clock before you got to Solana Beach, so it was just enough time for that wrap up, basically that I gave. But that was I thought that was really cool, like story wise, it worked out, but it was very unfortunate. You just happened to get a series of bad rolls, and there was really nothing I could do.
Yeah, towards the end it was just rough. Like it was
Yeah,
all 50 or higher, and I didn't make him someone who was like physically capable of a lot of things. Like his strength was low and his fighting brawl was low. I didn't want to make him someone who like was good at those things because it didn't make sense to me. But I was like, okay, this is
no.
the character and stuff. And there was not much that on a train you could use, for like weapons and stuff like that. And even when I wanted to tilt all the chairs over, they're secured, of course. And I didn't think about
Yes.
that it's a
What
moving vehicle, so they're gonna be.
you could have jumped into the kitchen window and tried to get the thing to follow you and then used like boiling water and stuff like that, but that would be like the only thing. The rest of the train, there was emergency like fire extinguishers, but that was basically it.
Yeah, see, that was gonna be my plan was actually to like jump in and try to find like a kitchen knife or if there was like a fryer or something. But when I
Right.
grabbed the coffee and threw it at him and then I pushed him over, I was like, okay, like that's good. Like I'm not just gonna start attacking the guy while he's on the ground, like. And
Right.
I was just trying to avoid him. My character wasn't gonna be confrontational in that way. So it is what it is. It happens. And Call of
I
Cthulhu, I
I
always
thought you were
expect
very
that
practical.
something might happen, like a character might die or something.
Right. I thought you were very practical, and it was just the luck of the roll. It just happens that way. Sometimes you get really good rolls, sometimes you get bad rolls. And we've discussed it before. We think there might be a pattern to the roll 20 rolls. Like it might be that once you get a bad roll, you get another bad roll. We're not really sure about that, but obviously that couldn't go on
No,
forever.
from what I've read,
Otherwise,
their algorithm is pretty good. It's just like if you were rolling real dice, you can get 50
okay,
bad rolls in a row, or you could get a good
right.
roll, bad roll, good roll,
That's
bad
true.
roll. It just depends. It's all by chance. It's pretty good.
We play in-person games all the time, and it's true. The rolling for that is exactly the same. In terms of like the type of results you get, it could be like a bunch of good ones and a bunch of bad ones. It's not just like good, bad, good. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and I like using the D100 system over the D20 system because there is that variance. There's a lot higher chance to get something that
Exactly.
just barely doesn't pass or it does pass instead of it just being a 5% chance for every roll. And
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Call of Cthulhu is deliberately like it's supposed to be hard, but yeah.
Yeah. And so, it happens that I think this is the first game in a while where I've had that bad of rolls, especially like towards the climax of the game. Um,
Yeah, when you get bad
every
rolls
time
in
I
a
push
row,
something.
at the end, it's like I feel especially with this one, I was thinking like I gave you a chance to push it, but it was like If I gave you anything more, it would basically be me saying, as if I was God coming down from the clouds, "Hey, bro, I like you. Here's a free, thing." It was like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
You were clearly gonna die. I had to let it happen. So,
Yeah, even that luck
uh,
roll, I got really bad, and then there was another roll that like I didn't want to push stuff because the ones that you were offering me to push, I didn't have a great stat in, and I didn't want a worse outcome because I pushed it.
right, right,
And so, but I liked the story, and then it was interesting that when you described it as a parasite, because at first I go, oh, like what is this thing? And then you describe it as a parasite, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is kind of weird. This makes like it was coming out of his chest and stuff. Because I immediately thought of like what's it called? Like something from Aliens. And then you described it as having like a small
right.
body and things like that. And then I remembered the Fiji mermaid and stuff like that. So that was very cool. It was a nice reference to those things.
Well, I'm really glad you enjoyed that because yeah, I was just an idea I had like this one. So I wrote this one, the one called The Grave, which was the second one, and I'm trying to remember. I think there was one more I wrote all in one night. And I was doing like overtime work at this job that I was doing midnight to 6, and I knew I had to have some stories for this thing that we were doing at this channel, and I wrote this one on the same night I wrote The Grave, which is the one where Tanner goes to a cemetery and stuff. But and so I really wanted it to feel like an anthology show. And I think with this one, I'm happy with it. I think it does kind of feel like an episode of an anthology show. And I like what you did with your character. It added something I think that again gives it more life in that sense where you feel like it's a real character there. And I enjoyed that very much. Also, you like I just like the way you play in general, and I was really glad that I could get you in on this for this episode, and I hope to have you back for future episodes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thanks. Whenever I'm available, I'll play. I was kind of disappointed. I couldn't think of a good voice for the character. So like
Oh well, you
yeah,
don't always need a
it's
voice.
an OL thing. Yeah, that's what I thought too. He doesn't always need a voice, but it was something where I definitely will do a voice next time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tanner didn't do a voice until the most recent one, and I really liked his voice. But I thought he saved it for a good character to have it. So that's what I try to do too. Some of my NPCs just talk like me. If I think, well, they might just talk like me. So, as long as you have a defined character, and I felt that you did. Like for instance, when you told the guy, like we not told him, but when you gave him the face, like whatever, man, that kind of said who your character was. And I like that. And the fact that you're like trying to avoid sitting next to other people. So it gave some flavor to it.
Yeah, they always have to have certain traits that make sense that a person would have. And then when you asked me if he was stoned, I was like, okay, yeah, if he kind of seems like dismissive about things or he's not like panicking in a way, it's because he's super stoned. Because he just
Right.
kept going like, dude, there's something weird going on. And like, it's interesting when you can play a character like that and think about like, okay, this wouldn't be me. This is what this character would do, and this is how they're reacting to things. And sometimes it's some people are a little overboard and some people are a little too subtle, and I feel like he was a little too subtle about stuff, but he tried to do what he could do, and he died.
he tried to do what he could do and he died.
Yeah.
And what more can you say about it? It's true. The story was, I want to say real quickly, was partially it was very much inspired by me having taken the Pacific Surfliner train to go see my girlfriend who lives in San Diego when we first started dating. So Whitney, if you see this scenario is dedicated to you. And and I just thought it was cool because going on those train rides, a lot of them, once you got on the train, were like 30 minutes. They were almost exactly, and sometimes they'd be a little bit over or a little bit under, but usually they really were like pretty exact. And I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. And I also thought being confined to the train was fun in terms of a story. Now, I didn't think about this at the time, but afterwards I realized that that episode of Twilight Zone, Terror at 20,000 feet was definitely an influence. The one where Captain Kirk William Shatner is in a plane and there's a gremlin on the wing. That was a little bit of an influence, I
Oh,
think.
that's cool. Like that.
Yeah,
I felt definitely even though there are things that you might not have seen or used. I'm not sure. You've probably seen Midnight Meat Train, but I got like that kind of vibe, how
so
it's like
I haven't seen Midnight Meat Train, but I
a
know
really
of
night
it.
train.
I don't I haven't seen it, but I know of it, the Barker thing, and so that was in my
Yeah.
mind. That actually was in my mind. Yeah,
It had that kind of feel where I was like, okay, something weird's gonna happen. Like there's very few people on the train, it's late at night. What's gonna happen? And it was cool because it was different from what I expected, like I said. And then uh the original, not the original, but Resident Evil Zero, there's the whole first section of the game, like the first quarter of the
oh
game
yeah,
is on a train. And it's the same thing where like you can't get off, the
that's right,
train's moving and stuff. And it's really cool because you're confined
right.
within a certain thing, and it's so unique, the train setting. So I really like that.
Yeah, and for the short Cthulhu's, confinement is definitely a strong theme in terms of it just keeps it because we're trying to do these as roughly 30-40 minute games, and so in order for that to work you kind of have to be confined to a single location. And I think the ones that are a little weaker, because I can't always keep them in one place, so the ones that are a little weaker are probably the ones where you have to hop to different places. And I like that this is definitely one of my favorite ones because it is so confined to the train. And so I'm glad you enjoyed that atmospherically. That's part of kind of what's fun about the train setting, is that you know that there's this kind of rhythmic sound, you know, you're constantly seeing movement on the signs. And it's just, to me, that's kind of fun. And of course, I have to note that pretty soon we're going to be playing Horror on the Orient Express, the most famous train confined scenario, well, campaign. Although it does have, you do hop off the train and do things in other places. We need to say this. This is the third time we filmed this.
Yeah. And every time there's
Tell them.
something we try to if we try to film it with first time we ran it with me and we had audio issues on Nathan's side, and then we tried it again with another friend with Julian, and again we had audio issues on Nathan's side. And it's kind of like if you immediately you find out that the audio doesn't work, and it's like, well, it's corrupted all the way through. Well, we can't use this. And so I didn't really sit in and edit anything really. So that's
No.
like why I never really thought of it. But I guarantee, I wonder if I actually was working on this for like, 10 hours editing it, if I would be like,
Yes.
ooh, I need to put a train sound in. Probably would. I mean,
Yes,
I
I
just
think you
never
would
ever
have.
got that far.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't there a rain sound effect in the grave?
No, there's no.
Okay. Okay. Well, we normally we had a discussion early on, Tanner and I told him I think normally we shouldn't use sound effects because there could be no end to the amount of sound clips we could cut into an episode. So I said
Yeah.
let's just stick with music. But with this one, I think it would be okay to do that if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
And I've done live Foley work before, and it's
hey,
just like don't give me freedom. I will just all of a sudden you've got 10 sounds overlapping. But I think we also agreed that for the short scenarios, it's just kind of makes it a little bit more fun. But once we start getting into the longer ones with more people, uh you'll probably see less and less music,
yes,
less and less sound.
I think so. So just a couple more questions for Mac. Mac, what are your main criticisms of the scenario? You don't have to be gentle with me.
Nothing in particular for for such a short scenario. I basically everything bad that happened was because I rolled badly, like trying to convince the train tenant to go check what's going on, to when even when I like at the end when I was wrestling with the thing, like I can't really complain about the plot or the story itself. Might have liked to find out a little more about the creature. feel like I should have asked that girl. You said that she had like a weird look about her, like she thought something was going on the
No,
train.
she just heard like the arguments and stuff that were going on and things like
Okay, so yeah,
she
so
doesn't
then
know.
yeah, so that yeah, so that was something that I just
No,
personally would have liked to know more.
it was just, I'll just say it right now because I don't think it's like, why not just say it? It was just a parasite that lives inside of larger organisms and can control them. And the only reason that it got into this situation is because that homeless guy happened to be in a dank, dark, subterranean place, probably somewhere underneath the city, that he was going to try to find a place to live. Because, that's not his fault. He's looking for a place to live. And that's where he ran into it. And that's the only reason it was in a homeless guy, because that's where the creature was able to find somebody. But basically it would have stayed probably in a sewer somewhere, getting into like animals and stuff, unless a human got to. So that's the basic idea. And you didn't need to know all that for the scenario. Like it's sort of like to compare it to the Twilight Zone episode, we don't know anything about that gremlin. We just know that it's a gremlin that exists. So that was
Yeah,
how
just like a lot of creature feature stuff. You don't know the
yeah.
origin, you don't know what happened. You can make assumptions, but yeah, that was just my personal thing as someone who's into that stuff. Like I personally, as like a person, would have liked to know, but there is no reason for my character to know that. So yeah, I don't really have any complaints.
Right.
I wish I hadn't died. Yeah.
You wish you hadn't died. I understand. Yeah, I wish you hadn't either. And
So
the character,
that's
yeah,
how it goes. Like I said, I
right.
yeah, I'm not against it. I'm not I'm just a little disappointed that my guy could not
Yeah,
do that.
I
He wasn't
understand.
against like a fighter. He wasn't someone who has survival skills, you know. So maybe next time that's I'll lean a little bit more that way.
Maybe so. Sometimes I'll give you directives like make a character that's kind of like this. With this one, I just said make it a kid because I thought it would be interesting if it was a younger guy that was playing this one.
Yeah.
Just also, it's like part of the character sheets when you make them, that when you make a character that's 15 years old, you have to deduce or reduce parts of some of the skills because they're younger, so they're like
Yeah, either strength or
goals.
size.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. It's like either strength or size. And yeah, I think that's a really cool idea because it just adds a little elements. So that's why
Yeah, it
sometimes
makes a lot of sense. Even when you make them too
I'll do
old,
that.
you got to reduce like dexterity or something else. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, it's a good character creation system.
Yeah, when they're older, you also have to reduce. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So yeah, I don't think there's probably much else to say. Thank you so much, Mac. You are one of my oldest friends. You are one of my best friends. And you, as I said, are the person who introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons. You're the whole reason I play Call of Cthulhu. That's so I really wanted you on here. Thank you for playing, and we hope to have you back for another episode soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm definitely, like I said, down to ever do it again. I appreciate you bringing me along and let me be part of it. And then I would say next time, or not next time, but another time, I would always like to play with another person. It's always good to interact with another person who's playing. So I think that would be a
Yes.
lot of fun.
I will announce that very soon we will be having a slightly longer, say hour and a half to 2 hour games with 2 or 3 people, hopefully 3 people. And Mac will be in certainly in 1 or 2 of those games. You'll be in some of those games for sure.
Sounds good.
For Radio Cthulhu, this is Nathan signing out.
Oh, yeah. Have a good one. Thanks. Am I signing out now? Okay.
That's fine. Yeah. See you next time, guys.
See you next time. Sometimes it's bleak like that, you know?